I'm Al McFarlane. Welcome to the Conversation with Al McFarlane. I'm glad to be here and glad to have you along as well. Well, today is Friday, and Friday we do the Healing Circle, and I'm pleased to be joined by my colleagues and co-hosts for the program, Dr. Bravada Garrett Akansanya and Dr. Oliver Williams. And boy, do we have a special program for you today. This is one of our first forays, actually our second foray back into community, and we hope to continue to bring these programs to you on Friday and other days of the week out in community, engaging people where we are, showing what we do, how we do it, all in the name of being and becoming a community, in the name of being and becoming healed, in the name of being healers, and understanding that the future of our community and our families really rest in our own minds and hearts, and that we're equal to the task. Well, Dr. B, we always start this program with a special protocol that connects us to our ancestors and to antiquity, to the Creator. Let me ask you to open the program today with the protocol.
Thank you, Baba Al. It's so wonderful to be here in this exciting program of being on location. Oh, I'm just saying, this is wonderful. And just in the spirit of the way we always open the healing circle, is that we try to surround ourselves with an environment that affirms our right to be and our right to be well. We begin this healing circle by imagining that we're in a circle together. Although it may be virtually, in our spirits, we are in circle. African people join in circle because when you're in circle, there is no top or bottom, no bottom, no ending or beginning. We are all as one. And we all meet in that circle where we have equal access to power, which is the center of the circle, where one has voice and where we can talk about the things we need and dream about the dreams we hope to achieve. In the circle, we honor our elders because the elders are the shoulders we all stand on. And through honoring them, we say, Ashe, Ashe. And as we honor the elders, we remember that the elders stood on the shoulders of our ancestors. And to them, for their sacrifices, hopes, and dreams, we again say Ashe.
Ashe.
And we honor our elders because they're closest to our Creator. So as we join in this circle, we remember that we are connected in all ways and to all living things and inanimate things as well. And we believe I am because we are, and we are because I am. And our circle is an orderly process where we use a talking stick to pass the conversation on so that everyone can be included. And so although we're not physically together, we use a virtual talking stick and we pass it to one another. And you can ask for the stick if the spirit moves. Any of those access to the stick is really important. So with this talking stick, we welcome you to the circle and we say Ashe, and I pass the talking stick to Baba Al. Here you go.
Thank you, Dr. B. Well, let me say to those who are checking us out on Facebook or YouTube, we thank you for joining us wherever you come from, either Twitter or LinkedIn. And we want to invite you to share the fact that you're here with us right now. So take a second and do a post or share, but especially take a second to like and subscribe to us on our YouTube channel, YouTube.com/Insight News MN, and become a subscriber. Help us grow our subscription to the channel. With that, Dr. B, let me bring Dr. Oliver in because he's in a very special place, and I'm going to have him reveal where he is and who the wonderful people he's connecting us to at this moment. Dr. Williams, good afternoon, brother.
Good afternoon, brother. How you doing?
I'm doing well.
Good to see you.
Yeah, I'm going to, in a few minutes, also ask your indulgence because I've got a brother who's doing surgery as we speak, and I'm going to seek the healing power that this collection of healers represents. So I'll come back to that in a few.
Okay. Well, thanks, Brother Al. I wanted to say that I'm in Tipton Hammond Art Studio in Minneapolis, and I was connected to Brother Drew Hammond and Sister Bev Tipton, who own this studio, and I've purchased a lot of their artwork. And because it's moving me, sometimes I'll see something and when they post it, and I'll see a piece of art that they've done, and I say, hold that there, don't sell it to anybody. I'll be there to pick it up. And so it's been a blessing to be here. And they've opened up their studio to do a lot of things with community and for community. So, and we got a chance to sort of talk about it because, you know, Drew's made it and Bev has made it something that they felt like they wanted to open up to community to be able to host them. So we talked about maybe having a healing circle come and talk about it. And the topic is um, art and community.
Mhm.
And so, Cooper, could you show that picture of George Floyd? Man, you know, that one has really moved me. I remember when George Floyd was killed, and then the work that we were doing in community to try to sort of acknowledge it. And that picture, I think, said a lot. I've had friends that have come from out of town, and that's one of the places that we went to because it was known nationally, certainly in the city and in the state, but also nationally. And I also have friends in different parts of the world, and they've seen it in the UK, they've seen it in South Africa, they've seen it in a lot of places. So that mural has been something that I think has affected people. But when I look at a lot of the work that I see in the studio here, it's a lot. There's a piece that Drew did for Gil Scott Heron, and that was something that was real powerful. I remember when I was living in Pittsburgh, he came. There's a place, it doesn't exist anymore, but it was called the Original O. And it's a place that you go to get some food that's like if you know Pittsburgh, it was a spot around the university. And it doesn't exist anymore. But anyway, he walked in, and after he did his concert, and that was something I thought was exciting. But there's also things here. I'm looking at something right now with Miles Davis and Stevie Wonder and Charlie Parker and Ella Fitzgerald and a number of other artists that have has an impact. And there's a picture right behind Drew of Angela Davis. And back in the day when she was doing her thing in a different time, a different space. And there's a picture that Drew did that I thought was really interesting, and it said, "I am a man." You all remember that
Mhm.
back in the day. He
Mhm.
updated it, but that was the one of the ones that I told him to hold on to for me, and I got it at my house. So anyway, and there are many others. So this is a place that you all got to come and see. Bev and Drew have done some really interesting things. But that being said, I'm gonna be quiet and let Bev introduce some of the other artists that we have here and the work that they're doing. So Bev, can you take the talking stick and introduce
Yes,
your guests?
yes. Thank you for passing the baton. Oh, I can Miss Akansana. Or what am I? What is she? What is he passing?
Talking stick.
The talking stick. I want to be accurate. I am so delighted to be here. Mr. Al, you're like family to us. So we beckon you to come. We need to
Mhm.
see your face in the place, and we miss you, and you look wonderful.
Well,
Um,
thank you.
Just greetings to everybody. We're just excited about this opportunity to talk about art and community. I've been given the task to introduce the guest artists that are with us, who are all residents in the North of King building. And God used us to bring breakthrough and to bring more African Americans in the building. And we have powerful community here, not just amongst us, but against our brothers and sisters with other skin color, but it's like an artist family here. And we're grateful to be here. We have Miss Jory Ingstrom. She's in Doc 5 Arts. That's the number 5, down on the first floor of the North of King building. Incredible artists. Karen Caldwell with Oya Arts, along with her husband, Tierre Caldwell. They have a gallery. They're our neighbors now. They're 2 doors down. And it's just a blessing to have her and her husband in the building. Of course, Drew and I are in 261 with Tipton Hammond Arts. And just to piggyback on what Doc was saying, we do concerts here, do Christmas concerts, book talks. I did a talk on being a Black woman in Paris when Drew had sent me to Paris for my birthday. And I'll be doing one upcoming called Healed Am I, which is about the book I wrote for overcoming the trauma of abuse. And we're going to have women and men who will be willing to come and hear about the remedy, which is the balm in Gilead himself, Jesus Christ. Then we have the amazing Andrew K. Hammond, who is my favorite artist. And he's here creating almost every day. And I'm grateful for him and how our works together are an awesome potpourri of art. So you got to come when you get the opportunity. We're here Saturdays between 12 and 4. But we can make an appointment anytime for you guys because you're family. I'm on it. We got Sean Garrison Phillips, Sean Garrison Arts. He is down the hall from us. Again, we're all on one floor. We done took over. And Sean is an amazing artist. Of course, we met Sean on the Black Lives Matter mural. And that was so important for us to do. And we have we got a copy of it from MAG, from Tina Burnside's museum. And we have that here in the gallery, and we keep it before our eyes. And so we're all located in the North of King building, and that's my story. I'm sticking to it.
What's the address for North of King? How do you get there? How accessible is it? And tell me more about the building itself and the mission of the building. Yeah.
Yes, the building actually was an old granary building. And Drew and I heard about it. We came to visit back in 2016, and we just walked through the building with our mouths dropped open. There are 200 artists in 400 artists in 200 gallery spaces.
Wow.
With all types of arts and crafts, anything from leather bags to Drew's collages, to Sean's abstracts, to Jory's amazing animal, and Karen's work. It's a really awesome melting pot. The public functionary is in the basement. Now we have kind of like a restaurant. And there are incredible spaces. There's a big space up on the 3rd floor where we can reserve to have exhibits. And we were asked to, by the manager of the building, when George Floyd was killed, we were asked to do the social justice exhibit. We had over 600 people come in and look at Drew's watermelon, which looked like seeds in there, but it was actually slaves. We had a lot of people in tears.
Wow. Wow.
Broke. Yeah, it kind of broke the ice. You got it there? Yeah. Yeah, it caused a lot of pain, but a lot of honesty. Huh? Oh, yes. The address for the North of King building is 1500 Jackson Street Northeast, and that is 55413. So you have 4 floors of art, all types of art, clothing, jewelry, visual arts. And again, our space is available to be utilized for events. We have birthday parties, we have concerts, and I'm blessed to have a wonderful wood floor. So I've taught African Afro-modern dance and ballet for the little kids. I've been dancing since I was 5, and now I'm only 20. But yep. So Doc is
Zoom,
showing a
zoom,
picture
zoom
here.
in on that art, if you would, Dr. Oliver, see if you can go as close as you can.
There it
Yeah.
is.
Let's talk about that. That's amazing. Just the concept. What was the thought? Can you go even closer?
Yes,
Closer.
the name of the piece is called Melancholy.
Uh-huh.
If you stand several feet away from it, it looks like watermelon seeds. And this was one
Mhm.
of the pieces that Drew did for the social justice exhibit that I just shared about.
Mhm.
And meticulously by hand, he painted each slave and their loincloth.
Hmm.
And you don't see that until you get up on it. And that's
Mhm.
when faces begin to turn red and tears fell.
Can you get
And
closer in?
people,
Can you, so we can
get a
see
little
that? How
closer.
close can you get with your camera?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. But each of those is a slave, an
Yes.
enslaved person
Yes.
inside a cargo boat.
Yes.
Mm. And the contradiction or the juxtaposition of that against, all of the lore around watermelon and black people.
Yes. It's a
Drew,
lot
what
in
was your
that.
Drew? What was your thought? Is Drew there?
Yeah.
Talk
Yeah,
about that
Drew
if you
shared.
would, if you don't mind. Talk about that for a second. Just what the process was, the conceptualization, and the creation. If you don't mind me jumping in here. I'm not hearing you, Drew. Maybe you're muted.
How about now?
There we go.
Good.
Perfect.
Okay.
Perfect. Yeah.
All right. Always a pleasure. Yes, some years ago, maybe 20, everything is 20 years with me, 20, 25 years. I sliced open a watermelon and that image was so profound and it just reminded me of something. So we've all seen that famous picture of the enslaved ship and the hull of the ship.
Hmm. Hmm.
And the seeds that were aligned in the watermelon had looked just like that, Mr. McFarlane. And
Wow.
so I just started painting that. And this is the fourth one. And this particular one actually hanged in Golden Time for over a year.
Mm.
Great conversation piece. And, I definitely concur with Bev when she said it's a tearjerker because it's actually meant to do that. And yes, when you was talking about the juxtaposition in terms of um, the watermelon and African American people. All of that was a part of it. Hence me calling it melancholy. So yeah, it's been on a tour. A couple of professors from McAllister had spoke and used it during presentations in White Bear Lake, and so yeah, that's a claim to fame for me. That one, I just love that piece. So
Oh, great.
that's the fourth one that I did. So
Okay. Okay. All right. So,
Like the
sister,
opportunity
yeah, go
to
ahead.
bring
Yeah.
in Jory and Karen to share a few words about their work and
and Sean.
Okay.
Sean definitely on their thoughts about art and healing. Who
Awesome.
wants to go first?
Thank
The
you.
ladies first.
Are you gonna go first? Hi, my name is Jory Engstrom. I am the owner of Jory LE Arts. I'm down in Art at Dock 5 on the first floor. My art is about healing and peace and love, um, very colorful, African inspired. And I'm loving the journey I'm on doing my art and making people happy. When they see my art, they're like in awe of it because they always talk about how bright it is and everything. So I really appreciate the joy that I see on people's faces when they look at my art.
Hi everyone, my name is Karen Caldwell. I'm the owner and founder of Oya Arts. That's myself and my husband, Tia Caldwell. As you can tell, I was born in London, but I grew up between London and Barbados in the Caribbean. So my work is like a strong reflection of the African diaspora. And I use my paintbrush to tell hidden stories about our culture that have been lost or misrepresented. So like Jovi, you'll see lots of bright colors, there's strong narratives in the work, and the point is really to educate ourselves and our community about stuff that has been taken away from us. So I see it as art as a really powerful tool for doing that. And you can find me down the hall from Drew and Bev. So I'm just in Studio 265, and I'm very lucky to be their neighbours.
Awesome.
All right, I guess that leaves me. How's everyone doing? It's good to see you all. Some of you I haven't seen in years. Dr. Bravada, it's been quite a while since I've seen you. I think it was a Pan-African conference from many moons ago. Mr. McFarlane, I think it was at North High for some event. And now Mr. Williams, I just saw you at Drew's thing, but it's good to see everybody. Sorry I'm late. I had a misunderstanding on some things, and I'm getting a little younger, so I got a little off track. So I guess the part of my artwork as it pertains to healing, I deal with quite often my live performative work. I address a lot of difficult conversations and things that a lot of us don't want to talk about, but we need to talk about. And often it starts from this space of angst and pain. So I've did a show around the George Floyd Love Rising, as I call it. Painted a mass lynching a couple of years ago, a literal mass lynching, to talk about how do we have this conversation about racism and white supremacy from an authentic space of pain, and not this sitting at a table where people have a chance to think about the right answer. Now I'm working on a current performance around all this gun violence in this country, in addition to a few other things. But I think the impact of what I do and what everybody else here does on with respect to healing is a beautiful thing. And I think we need art more so than we've ever needed. I've told quite a few, local politicians, other folks, that what's being done hasn't been working in a sense for certain issues. Policy doesn't change things, and over policing in some instances doesn't work. So it's like, all right, the way I see it, art is that thing that encroaches upon people's emotions, and so once that happens, then change starts to take place or take root, at least the thought, right? And so a lot of what I do through that live performative realm, because I do studio work also, but through that lens is, how do I get people to emotionally move? And then from that, then the actions follow that, if I'm successful in what my intent is. And so far it's been relatively successful. But anyway, I'll be quiet now till it's time for me to open my mouth again. But it's good to see all you beautiful Black people. Let me say that. So,
well, I have a question, just it's a circle question. Are you guys all in the one studio, or are you each in your own studios?
Oh, yes, I didn't say that. I am further down the hall from Drew, on the same floor, Studio 286.
Are you in your studio right now?
Yes.
And the sisters, are you guys in your studios?
So Joy's in with me, so I'm in my studio. Yeah.
Oh, in your studio, and then Drew and Bev are in their studio, right?
Yes, sir.
That makes this really exciting to me, to see that we're in different places, like even in the same building, in different parts of the town. You guys are northeast, I'm over north, and just as easily as we are here, I loved hearing the British Barbados accent as well, because we could be in London, or somebody could be in Accra, somebody could be in Venezuela or Cuba, and be having the same conversation, putting us kind of face to face in this circle. And so kudos to the technology, and kudos to our ability to grasp it and to shape it to serve our purpose. And let me throw something out for the conversation. And I want to focus on healing, because I see you and I recognize the healer, and I'm speaking to the healer in you. And I'm hoping that you will recognize the healer in me. A healer I am, and I see you as a healer as well. And I wrote a post this morning in reference to, in response to my brother Wayne. Some of you might know Wayne McFarlane, the leader of Ipso Facto, the reggae band that was like a highlight band here in Twin Cities. And Wayne has had several new configurations of his music, including one band called Dreadlock Cowboy, and one band called Wayne McFarlane and Jaws, Jahz. Well, Wayne is actually, as we speak, in Rochester at Mayo Clinic, undergoing a quadruple bypass heart surgery. Sorry, my mistake. Sorry. I'm using my phone and I dropped it. I got excited and knocked over the stand, so apologies. So Wayne's going into surgery right now, and I wrote a note this morning calling Wayne the healer and saying that he's undergoing this process. He's jumping, leaping into the space, and I said that, and I included in the post on Facebook and Twitter a link to some music by the Afro-Cuban All-Stars, a CD called Distinto Diferente, Distinct and Different. And it's an album that has just a lot of great Afro-Cuban music. But when Wayne was, some 10 years ago, downtown at Hennepin, waiting for a liver transplant. First one failed. They put him in a coma and kept him there until a new kidney could be found that would be compatible. So he was in a coma 5 days. So I came down and brought a little CD player and asked the nurses to put the CD player on a loop over his head or by his head and just play this song, this album again and again. And again, it's the Afro-Cuban All-Stars Distinto Diferente. So I sent that in a link today in the post. And I described the fact that Wayne, while he was in coma, he told me later, was traveling what he described as unknown realms, just discovering places and things and people and images and experiences that he hadn't before, but that were full of life and full of joy, and that the music that the Afro-Cuban All-Stars were presenting in this CD was kind of like a pathway, a gliding pathway to propel him across these new realms. So I said in my post today, here's a copy of the music while Wayne's in surgery. If you get a chance to click on this link and play this music, either listen to it while you can or in the background. And as you think about and hear this music, think about my brother Wayne McFarlane. I called him the maestro. I called him a creator warrior, and I called him a healer. And that's what he does. That's what he is as a musician and as a human being and as a spirit. And also, he talks about what he calls his station, his broadcast station, his imaginary station. He calls it WBAD, and WBAD, he says, means we believe and dream. WBAD. That sounds like a good radio station to me. So he invites everybody to check out WBAD, WBAD, we believe and dream. So I ask you to check it out and to send energy his way so that he is successful as he has leaped again into his future. And the future is a future of substance, of giving, of sharing, of being, and reflecting the power of the Creator in our lives and in community. With that, how does healing work for you, my artist friends? And Dr. B, you can jump in, and Dr. Oliver, what are we talking about healing? What's the role we play? What's the role art plays for us individually and collectively as we pursue healing and health? I'll stop with that. Let me pass it to brother Drew first.
So when I think about creating art, so I'm in a mental space right now that had not it been for the ability to create art, then I would have lost it. That is healing. There is art in healing. Having the ability to create something that will take your mind off of your situation and you apply all of that energy into that work that you're creating, that is a form of medication for people who are going through. So when the same effect that my art gives is the same effect that music gives. When you was talking about the Afro-Cuban music, I started thinking about the likes of Chano Pozo and Dizzy Gillespie,
Mm.
who I'm just like diehards. I like music, period. And just want to quote Miles real quick. He said, "There's only two kinds of music." He said, "There's good music and there's bad music." So if you guys haven't heard any of the rhythms from Cuba, oh man, you're missing out, because it's great rhythm and it's a music that makes you smile. And so we all understand Cuba as going through a lot of turmoil. But you know, when you have that kind of energy and that kind of spirituality to make you smile in the midst of a storm, then you just help yourself more than any prescription. So I liken that to, and it's so different from the synthetics that we get from our physicians, which is simply to uh, help us cope.
Mhm.
But music and art helps us heal.
Mhm.
It really does help us heal. And I look at my contemporaries; all of them have that same gift in their creativity and what they do. It brings a smile and it brings healing. Because when you look at Jury, Karen, Bev, Sean's work, you don't think about that internal struggle that you have going. You think about what they're presenting to you. And then when you can appreciate something even in the midst of a storm, you're getting better.
Mm.
You're
You
getting
can
better.
you can pass the stick to whoever you want to pass it to.
Yeah. I'm a pass it to Sean.
I figured you would pass it to me right after you.
That's love.
With that voice. I'm like, okay, I can't even buy that voice anywhere, and I got to come
Oh
up with my
man.
little pipsqueak voice. That's okay, brother. I appreciate you anyway. Uh, um, healing and health. I think art is one of those things that helps us. I think, Drew, I think you alluded to this a little bit. Helps us escape a little bit.
Yeah.
You know, just as far as Black folks, you know, we know just walking out the front door, we already attacked by things we don't even see, and we're that energy.
Yeah.
And so we have the opportunity to consume or inhale art, however we do that, visually, orally, and use that as a way to get away. That's a fabulous thing. I think they say what the healing frequency of music is like 174 megahertz or something like that.
Mm.
So they know that actually, you know, is supposed to heal you when you listen to this frequency. And there's different frequencies, of course. And so that's the beauty of music. You know, when I grew up, I was an artist, but I was in a dance group, and there's always some certain music that struck me differently than other music. And I'm thinking my thoughts are that is why, because it fit my internal rhythm, for lack of better terms, in a way other music didn't. As far as just some of the work that I create, I think that as a means to heal, I think pain is the most beautiful space to heal from,
Mm.
because it's the most purest emotion that we have. You know, I've had people tell me they love me and been lying to me left and right. But when you hurt and you in pain, that's when you're at your rawest and you're broken down. You're in this space, and everything that comes from that is pure. And so creating some of the work that I've created is with that intent. How do I get this person in this space where they can find the purest of themselves and come up with these answers, either for themselves or for the community, be it the community you live in or the audience per se, during the Q&A? And how do we discuss, how do we heal together through that? Because I'm opposite of this new I shouldn't say new age thing, or a lot of younger folks thinking I can do this on my own. I recognize that I need the people to help me heal. I need you to see me, at least me. I need you to see me in my rawest form to help me get through this. Because internalizing this thing doesn't work, and I don't think anyone should walk around with this stuff that they're wearing. And there's art that we all create that pulls it out of people. So I'll leave it at that, because I know I can get long-winded. Y'all stop me when you need
Well,
to.
you can pass the talking stick to anybody that you want to pass it to.
Wait a minute. I'm feeling like I need it for a minute. Just a
Oh, there we
second.
go. All right.
Yes.
I'm feeling the spirit move, because there's a saying, and I use it a lot in my mental health practice. that you don't have to teach a cut how to heal. You don't have to teach a cut how to heal. All you need to do is create an environment for the healing to take place.
Mhm.
And I'm hearing that when I hear Drew, I'm hearing from Brother Sean. You're creating an environment that welcomes a space of healing. And I'd like to hear, my sisters talk about how they create that environment in their art to allow the natural proclivity, the God-given creative way of healing that exists in us already, how you bring it out through your work. So thank you. Y'all got me all started up in here. So I would like to pass the talking stick to Beverly. Here you go.
Here we go. So as many of you know, I've been dancing since I was 5 years old, and when I would come out to Minnesota to be with Dad for the summer, I would go to the Children's Theater. I studied at the Washington Ballet School, and as I got older, and God enabled me to introduce praise dance and worship in the church when it wasn't popular, I found my freedom, because I was in New York wanting to audition for Alvin Ailey, but God had other plans. I wanted to be a model, but God had other plans. And he said, if you go into that arena, the enemy's going to devour you. So I said, okay, never mind. So I followed that direction, and I was ordained as a minister when I was 19. But in terms of connecting this to what the subject is and what my dear Dr. Akansana has mentioned and shared, dance and singing was my outlet. And I danced in the spirit. I did whatever I could do. I choreographed. I began to train people around the country. I even did dance workshops in South Korea. And God has blessed that part of my life. But for me, dance is liberating. So for me, that first canvas was the atmosphere itself, where whenever my teachers at SUNY Purchase, they'd say, as you move, cut the space. I wasn't really painting then, but the air is actually, you're cutting the air and you're moving and you're creating something that's invisible but visible and extremely tangible. And then Drew and I had one of our dates was he came over and we put canvases on an easel. And we painted. I didn't know how amazing he was as an artist, but we had our jazz music and we had the easels, and it was just awesome. And I found that I had a gift of art that I didn't know was inside of me. And so now I dance on the canvas. You can see this abstract behind me, and the one on this side. Wait a minute. On this side. It's confusing on this thing. That one's called Daughter, and that is dedicated to my father, Tom Tipton. And because those loving eyes is how I always see him, and I still do. So I feel like we are creating art for ourselves as healing. I must say this, on my worst days, if there's warfare, if something tragic has happened, if I dance, I'm good. That is my peace place, and it's also my feet are weapons of war, and I dance and intercede on behalf.
You push your mute, yeah, unmute.
Sorry.
There we go.
And so now that we're in this place where we can freely create, I've sat and watched how we've got like all this art on the wall. And was, well, why is anybody buying that? Well, that's an incredible piece. And 3 years later, someone comes in and says, I must have that, because they've connected to it. So that means what we're doing on the canvas is actually dispensing medicine. We just don't know when they're going to pick up the prescription. We have no clue. So there's a joy in creation. Of course, this is also our business, but I see a lot of what we do is, I call it marketplace ministry, because we have a lot of people that come in and see the art, connect with the art, and begin to cry. And that's when I go to the corner of the gallery and I say, do you want me to pray for you? And they say yes. I love those opportunities. And whether they buy art or not, they didn't leave the way they came.
Uh,
And so, yeah, I just enjoy the process. And I'm also grateful for what my ability to express myself through dance and singing, whatever else. I can be healed, because if we're healers, Mr. McFarlane, we've got to make sure we stay healed,
that's right.
that we don't overextend ourselves like I often do, but I'm giving that up, and learn to say no sometimes so that we can recover from all that we've poured out.
I'm interested in also hearing from what Karen and Jory have to say.
Yeah, you should. Okay. So for me, I think the healing power of art is multifaceted. So you have, on the one hand, as an artist, you have it as an outlet, and what everyone has kind of alluded to, the fact that you get to pour out your pain, your ideas, your thought processes down on the canvas. Then you also have the impact that that work has on people, as what Beverly was alluding to. So when people come to the gallery and they see a piece and they interpret it in a way that they interpret it, or maybe in the way that you intended it to be interpreted, you see that it really resonates with people. So a lot of my work focuses on the Black female experience and putting us in the center of the narrative, because a lot of the times that doesn't exist from us within the artistic space. So when a lot of women come into this space, Black and white women alike, and they see themselves centralized in the narrative, and I explain the thought process behind the piece and, you know, the meaning, why I've chosen certain colors or what it means, it really resonates with them, and it allows them to have that space to heal and to grow. And I think for me, the third element of that is actually empowering people to create themselves. So what Oya Arts does as well, we do, it says art and wellness, because we understand the importance of art as a healing and transformative tool. So we go into different organizations, we go into different community groups and give people the space and the confidence to create and use it as an emotional outlet. So for me, art is the answer to all things. So if you ask me, you know, how can we make things better? It is to allow people to tap into their creative intuition, whether that's through visually consuming art, whether that's through actually actively participating in the creative process. I think it should be central to all healing conversations and all community-based organizations as well. I'll hand over to Jory.
What she said. I found when I got into art, I've been doing art all my life, but just seriously throughout the last, I'd say about 3 years, and I found deep healing in it. When I start painting on the canvas, I get lost and time flies by and I'm like, whoa, where did the time go? But it's like it puts you in a different place in your life where you don't have to answer to anybody. You know, it's just you and that canvas and you creating what it is that you feel in your heart. And pink is my favorite color. I wish everything could be pink. It makes me happy. I just love that what I do and other people get to see is amazing. Like I said, the looks on their face, the conversations that we have when they walk away with a smile and they tell me they'll be back, or when they, you know, purchase an original painting and they send me a picture and tell me where they put it, so they make sure that everybody else can see it. That makes me smile. That makes my heart smile. But I always believe that when I do my art, that I hope that it brings peace and love to everybody, because that's really what my paintings are about, healing all together, the all in one. So, yeah.
Who do you want to pass the talking stick to?
Oh, I don't know.
Anybody?
Back to you.
Okay, well, I'm going to keep it going and pass it back to Dr. Oliver. I'm loving this conversation. I think the conversation in and of itself is healing. So as we are talking about it, we are doing it, and we are being it, being the healer, being the healed. And I think this is a critical conversation. Thoughts that have come up while you all were talking is, how do we encourage our people to really enjoy and take more broad ownership of our creative capability. What are you saying, Al? I'm saying, how do we encourage our people to buy the art that you, the creators, are producing and presenting? And I think it's wonderful that you all have found each other and are in a place where you kind of magnify each other because you're close. And you're in a place where there are lots of artists and lots of things going on. But I'm so happy to have this chance to have this discussion. My intent is to encourage viewers, readers, listeners to know you, know your work, and know the value that you can bring to their lives and to their stories, and to engage, and to do that, to buy, become buyers of your creativity with intent, have an intention of buying because you love what you see, it resonates with you, but you also know that you're supporting the funnel of creativity that each of you has organized as life work. So I'm going to pass the talking stick back to Dr. Oliver.
Yeah, thank you, Brother Al. You know, I've had the opportunity to be able to to encourage the development of art. I have a friend who was in the original cast of The Lion King, and she was in the Dance Theater of Harlem, and she was and a teacher there. And then she decided to go to teach in academia. So I think she's at the University of Illinois now, and she was at another school in the southeast. But I created with through Gary Hines with the Sounds of Blackness 5 songs, and one of the things that we did was we had him create the song, but then had my friend Endelin create dances with her dance troops to those songs. And it was around the issue of, interestingly enough, healing. That was the conference that we had. And so as we introduced, we dealt with a group of women who were in Detroit and also in California and Los Angeles, and a couple of programs in Los Angeles, and asked them questions about what healing meant to them. And as we reviewed it, it ended up talking about creating a sense of balance, but also restoration. And as we had conversations about it, we ended up listening to what they had to say, but we created a play. And the play was called Ms. May's Flowers. And I got Margaret Avery to perform in the lead role for us. But then we had the song and the dance that were connected with it. And we brought people from around the country to come to the conference. And as they saw the play, they had a chance to listen to the music and see the dance that was also healing for them. And it created us, since we were having these challenging conversations, we had 5 women tell their story. But then we, as we had the music and we had the play, and we had the dance, it was a healing bomb, talking about the same theme, talking about the same topic, but expressing it in different ways, where people could find a way to be consume the information, but also heal from what they were exposed to. And that dealt with the realities that the women taught. You know, interestingly enough, the women that we interviewed, we brought to the conference and let them know this is what the consequence of them telling the truth and what it meant to them. So I think there are different ways that we can express. And, you know, when I see Bev and Drew's work, and when I see Brother Sean, I remember seeing you do your artwork when you were doing the painting, and you had your overalls on and you were going to town with some of that stuff. It was very impressive, and I'm interested in seeing Jory and Karen some more of your work too. because I know that it will touch me. And it's interesting to me too that piece with the watermelon. I had never noticed that it had slaves in it until till today.
Mhm.
And I can understand how people would be moved to tears by seeing that, because you have to get close up enough to it to be able to see that. But the other pieces there's another piece that Drew did that had things about Black people. It's a picture of different shades and different hues and different types of Black people that are in the picture. And I got it placed in a prominent location that when people walk in the house, they can see it. But that was one thing that moved me. And then I Am a Man is that was talked about in the 60s when we were dealing with challenges associated with that. And that has significance to me. But there's a lot of pieces here. There's some pieces that Bev has done that moves me, but it also moves my wife Sonia. Uh, these pictures that she has of Black women, Black women that have lived in different locations. Um, and I have to say too, Karen, one of the things that gets me about going to the UK is identifying not only the differences, but also the similarities
Very much so.
that exists. And going to South Africa, we have a friend named Elizabeth who introduced me to a brother who was raised in Norway, but he's also Black, and then he moved to South Africa, and he's doing this work in Johannesburg, where he's gathering groups of Black men together to be able to talk about the issues and challenges. And I got a chance to sit in the group. It was like I'm from Detroit originally. It's like being in Detroit, or being in other groups that were in the Twin Cities, where we've had conversations about different issues and challenges, and having conversations that help us heal.
Yeah.
So with that, I'll be quiet. And yeah, Sean, you want to take it?
Sure. Let me make sure I'm on the right. What's the question on the table?
Well, we're talking about how does your art influence your healing. I gave some examples, about ways that I've done it.
So art influences my healing. So originally I've been a writer for 38 years. So I've been writing for quite a while. I've been painting for roughly 12, 13 years now. So for me, it started out with the pen. And that was where, as a product of a single parent household with two other siblings, for me, that was my way to stay out my mother's way, so to say, so she could deal with my two other siblings and me to process what I had going on. And that was a very isolated space to be in, which was great because I needed that time away from everything to figure out what I had going on. And so now it's just kind of transferred to the studio. So when I'm here and I'm in this space, it's as if I'm right in the middle of a poem in a sense.
Mm.
And ironically, I've kind of created my own lexicon. So a lot of artwork I do now is actually visual poetry based on this lexicon I've created. So it's a way to be free. I mean, I tell some people, I said, quite often and I say this, somewhat serious, but I know when I come here, this art gives me what I give it tenfold. I pour in love, I get tenfold of that love back. And sometimes the outer world outside of the space doesn't provide that for me because everybody has their thing going on. But this art, it's like an instant rebound, and it's the most beautiful space to be in for that purpose. And I think Ms. McFarlane said something about, and I want to touch on this, about getting our people to understand and buy art and encourage our folks to buy art.
Yeah. And to
I
collect art.
think, pardon me?
And to collect
And to
art.
collect. I think just on that, I'm trying to make this brief. I'm not known for that, but I'm gonna try. Is don't laugh too hard, Drew. Is that we have to,
brother, take your time. Take your time. Take your time.
Mr.
And say what the Spirit has you to say.
McFarlane said, "Take your time."
Yeah.
So I might have to put on get to the pulpit. I think our people, we have to understand, first of all, we are art. We are literally creating ourselves often out of necessity on a daily basis to survive this thing called America. And art is simply the act of creation, right? The output of creating is this thing we call art. And every day, I know when I go out in this world, I have to be a different shine, Garrison, in a different space at a different time, only to come back and go, okay, let me center myself again in who I am. But knowing I have to go out in these worlds, whatever that is, art world, whatever that looks like, and be new. So I think once we understand that, then as art we are the embodiment of art, then I think we have to understand that because of that, and we know because of that, then we're all so vastly different that art, what we call art, is not something that has to look like something, right? It has to be representational of something. And I think often that gets in the way of our understanding of art, such as music is not the only form of art. A lot of our young folks, they think, hey, if it's not music, it's not art. It's like, you know what, if you write the alphabet, you're creating art. Because how do you think the alphabet began? It became as pictures and comedic symbols, and before the Phoenicians and the Greek got to it. And so everything we do is the embodiment of art. But to get our folks to understand that, and then understand that also you don't have to be a multi-millionaire to collect art. There are ways, even if something you feel is out of your, let's say, a little too highfalutin or out of your price point, there are ways that artists can make that work for you. You know, I mean, I grew up in the land of layaway. So it's like, hey, if you want this piece, this is what it is. This is how we can break this down for you. So you can, you know, and I tell folks is that this is an investment. You're not buying, you're investing in the artist, you're investing in your culture, you're investing in you, you're investing in your emotional connection with this piece. This is an investment. If you just buy something, you know, if something you buy gets old and depreciates and withers away, if you invest something, you embed yourself into that conversation. And so then that never gets old. And then it takes on a whole different meaning. And then I think just for those of us who know better, need to teach better. We gotta let our folks know this is not just for, you know, the other side. We are literally walking pieces of art. And so we need to make that connection and then take a deeper stance on it and say, okay. And then the other side, the commerce side of it is the only way Black artists survive is if people are investing in their art. You know, I've been blessed enough, and I know, and a few of us have been blessed enough to do this thing, you know, full time, and it's not easy. But I tell you what, I'd rather not. Listen, if I got to work hard 27 hours out the day, that's better than working 27 seconds for somebody else at this point.
There you go.
So I'm gonna be quiet on that note.
Let me jump in and say how much I love what you're saying. You triggered a couple of thoughts. One is, sister said she dances to healing, and the thought came to my mind. I'm not sure where I read it, but it was a statement that some people dance to know, other people write to know, other people sing to know. But there are many ways of knowing. But the objective is to approach and fully pursue knowing. And then right now I'm involved in what I'm describing as the Africana way of knowing. and you mentioned comedic language, brother. And so that brought the other thought of the phrase medu netur. Medu netur is a word that talks about writing or about speech or about words, and the translation out of hieroglyphics or ancient Kemetic language is divine speech. And what if we came to understand that every utterance that issued from our person is divine? And what if we were able to live and operate in the world, understanding that not only what we present is divine, but that we, in effect, as the presenter, are part of the divinity? Just a thought. I'm throwing it out. Dr. B, I'm going to pass it to you.
I've been so moved, and I wrote down some words that I thought hit what I'm feeling. And I wrote this: as the healer heals, they dance through light and straight through time. They create thunder and flowers and smells that create divine healing and hope. As the artist swings their brushes, they create ways to see and feel a healing that is a healing balm to the world. We're spoken and broken and painted. We have danced and sang our songs and moved so that artists create liberation, a beauty that never dies.
I think that's the mic drop. That's it. Dr. B and all of our guests, thank you so much for this conversation. Let's make this the first of these. This is a critical conversation, and I want to invite all of you. Let's do this again, and let's keep doing it. And I know I promised before to come by your studio. I've still not been getting out, but I'm going to be getting out more than I used to. And one of my priorities is to drop in to your studio, and the priority in doing that is to come with my checkbook ready to buy some art. With that, sisters and brothers, thank you all so much. I'm Al McFarlane. We'll see you next time.
See you.